Hello, and welcome to another Fox Cartoon Weekly Thoughts Review. And all 5 shows are back, so let's get started with The Simpsons and Wad Goals. I thought this episode was pretty solid. I like the entire concept of caddies in this episode. I think it's pretty good. The episode does take a little long to get started. It's a typical problem for a lot of Simpsons episodes that have happened recently. The ending is also a bit rushed because of this. It was also the same thing with Diary Queen, although I think this week was better than that. Marge's reasoning for shutting down the golf course isn't really justified, because many people stuck up to their bosses. And even though she does mean well, it's just that the reasoning isn't very good, I think. Because, many people stuck up to their bosses. It's part of life, he may not like his boss, but he continues to do a good job because he wants to stand his boss's good side, even though he personally doesn't care for him, that kind of thing. It's like that in life, I feel like the reasoning was more so that because Bart would spend less time with her. We've seen in previous episodes that Marge refers to Bart as her special little guy, and she likes to spend a lot of time with him. So it probably could have been something related to that. The social justice warrior stuff was not necessary. It was irrelevant. The episode overall was pretty good. I liked Ralph doing the dance at the end. That was just super funny to me. I honestly don't know why. But overall, it's pretty good. It's better than last week. Next up, we have Family Guy, and then there's Fraud, and this is a terrible episode. I'm sorry, I've been trying to really like Family Guy again, but it's really, really hit and miss this season, and this season has been more miss. This show is pretty difficult to kind of review, mostly because it's a sketch comedy. But again, I said that this episode just didn't click for me, and this is probably one of the worst episodes of the season. Probably second or third worst. It's terrible, and those are terrible too. All the cutaways are bad. The story is wafer thin. The mega abuse is just pointless, stupid filler. The part with Peter and Chris losing their heads is unfunny. It's just a way to insert that pointless gore that all these adult animated shows like to do nowadays, and it's really, really annoying. Peter's plot was fine, Peter and Chris, but, there's just a lot of awful jokes. The plot itself is fine, okay. But the Stewie subplot was just really, really boring, and it was just lazy. It's just, okay, he gets plastic surgery, and then he decides not to. Then that's pretty much it. And again, if we're going back to the mega abuse, it's just more pointless gore, because she ends up cutting her foot just to escape from the ankle bracelet. It's just cringy, it's stupid, it's unfunny. I remember back then the mega abuse was funny because, this probably just happened one or two times, but then it gets old very quickly, and then it just becomes uninteresting and not funny anymore. You expect it coming, okay, it's here. It's not funny, that kind of thing. I kind of don't believe the writers don't know how to write a teenage girl because they have female writers on the show. The head writer for Better Off Meg was female, and of course that episode made Chris probably one of the most unlikable characters I've ever seen in adult animation. And it also reinforces that the writers cannot accept change and develop their characters. And I get that Family Guy is a sketch comedy, but you sort of can't get away with those things because the early seasons of Family Guy had a good balance of story, plot, character development, and jokes. Nowadays it's mostly just all, okay, let's shoot all our jokes, and there's barely any story. And okay, I guess that's fine, but I kind of don't get the excuse of people who say, I watch Family Guy only for the jokes, I don't care about the story. Because if the jokes are all funny, then I wouldn't really mind as much. But you have to keep in mind that the early seasons of Family Guy did have a good balance of all this stuff. So I just feel like if they could get back to their older roots again, I feel like the show could be a lot better than it is now. Even season 9 even still had a lot of that. So even 10, even though 10 was very average, it still had a good balance of plot and jokes. And season 19 is just mostly a bunch of jokes, and okay, let's throw a bunch of jokes and see if they land. It's like, okay, we throw a bunch of jokes, we throw 10 of them, and maybe only one of them lands. Maybe only one or two. Like, that's literally it. And it's like, okay, we throw the Hudson brothers, that huge 3-minute montage, which basically took took almost a quarter of the episode out. It's like, it's a repetition of the infamous Conway Twitty. Like, it just makes no sense that the writers do stuff like this. There's no original jokes to tell. At least with the other jokes, they at least try to tell something, but this is just lazy. It's just stupid, and it's like a waste of time. I don't even want to see it. It's so boring and uninteresting. It's just, oh, if I did my review and I put a clip of me eating food, instead of me talking about these shows, I'm eating food. I don't come to watch people. I don't come to watch an outdated band perform their song on Family Guy. I come to see jokes. I come to see plot. I come to see comedy. That's why I'm here, right? To watch Family Guy for comedy, right? Not to see an old, outdated band, which I can look up on YouTube if I really want to see it. There are a few moments I did smile at. Notice I said I did smile, not laugh. I was slightly amused by these and nothing more. There's a few of them I can name some. When Stewie thought he was old, that kind of made me smile, because 3 years old is certainly not old at all. I did like the part where Joe made Peter buy something to let Chris use his bathroom. It's kind of amusing because their house is next door. He can just go back to his house, but although it did get lame quickly when he had to repeat the bathroom numbers, I thought it got lame quickly. Dr. Hartman thinking Stewie was Daryl Hannah, I thought that was sort of amusing. And I guess when Stewie's skin fell off during his portrait, that kind of made me smile. Although I can see, people thinking that's pointless gore, but it kind of made me smile. Because I kind of didn't really expect that to happen. It didn't make me laugh, it just made me smile. Like, and then there's Fraud is lazy, it's boring, it's not funny. The plot is wafer thin, it's really terrible. One of the worst this season. Don't watch it. Next up, we have Bob's Burgers and Die Card or Die Trying. And, this one sees Linda try to get the perfect family photo for her family after, she worries that people aren't going to send her gifts or Christmas cards or whatever it is. It's pretty good, I do like the idea of them going, of Linda desperately trying to get the perfect family photo. It does start out a little bit boring, but I did think it picked up more in Act 2 and Act 3, especially when Linda gets her hand stuck inside a rock. Because, it's really a core episode about the family. I know season 11 hasn't really done that too much, but I'm glad this episode did exist, because I do like core episodes about the family. They're a lot of fun. I also like seeing Louise being able to solve the problem of Linda getting stuck on the rock. It just proves how clever she can be, and it's nice to see the Belchers win again, because they're not very good with episodes focused on negativity, like Family Fracas, the Grandmama Pest Hotel. They're not very good with that stuff, but but they always nail it when the Belchers get to win something, and the third act again was a lot of dramatic fun. I like seeing Bob make juice as a new hobby too, because homemade juice can be so good. And when Bob's reaction when Tina's like, why not water? And Bob's like, no, water is stupid juice. I completely laughed at that. The final line where Gene says, I think he was naked or something, that kind of made me laugh in the photo. I think this was a good episode. Even though I don't have a lot to say about it, I just know I did like it. Next up, we have Bless the Harts and Big Pimpin', and this one sees Louise become Wayne's quote-unquote boyfriend when her husband Daniel dies. This show continues to shake things up on Fox Animation Block. It's taking more risks. It isn't afraid to dig into more darker themes. Betty's accusations just come out of nowhere. They're silly and nonsensical, to the point where they get her in trouble. Violet and David have some good lines here too. I enjoyed their podcast and how it became a quick hit. I also like Betty's conspiracy theory that Louise killed Daniel, and how Violet and David continue to cash in But it's good that they face consequences because, it's not okay to falsely accuse people of committing murder. Uh, Even though it kind of just ends quickly, I kind of wish they did something more with that, but, it's done. It's whatever. The main plot deals with the hardships of being a widow, but it's also comical at the same time. Louise gets some good character development, and, she seems to be pretty mature at the end of the situation when Wayne gets upset. We learn here that, Louise is pretty clingy when, when a man spends time with her, and Megalo Memories, the first Black Friday special, seemed to implicate that. But, at the time I thought it was just Daniel, but, now this definitely confirms that she's clingy. I'm very curious to see what she's going to be like going forward. Yeah, this episode was a bit slow. It got interesting by the second act. Brenda and Jandy enjoying their luxuries was fun. I would have liked to see more of the podcast, but there wasn't enough. Again, I really think the show could benefit with at least 3-4 more minutes of time. I just feel like the show would be better as a streaming show, to be honest. I feel like 21 minutes nowadays is not enough for a comedy series. And that's probably why a lot of those recent ones don't really hit for me, because, over time they've been reducing the amount of minutes every single time, and, it's like, okay, you have the credit scene, which is 30 seconds. You have these on the 30 seconds. Really, you only have 20 minutes to, 20 minutes to, make an episode. It's just so little time compared to if we go to streaming services like Solar Opposites and Central Park. They get as few extra minutes, and they're able to do a lot of great stuff. In addition, they're also able to be more serialized because they're made for streaming services. I kind of wish that these shows on Fox would be more serialized. And I feel like stuff is changing, and I feel like Fox needs to really get in with that, because King of the Hill was really ruined because Fox disallowed a lot of continuity in it, so they weren't allowed to go back and reference a lot of stuff. And I really think King of the Hill could have been so much more if it was a more serialized show. Like there was a lot more continuity, and so it's okay to be episodic every once in a while. But I just feel like shows nowadays, with the demand for story-driven shows, I feel like Fox really needs to jump into this ASAP, or people aren't really going to be interested in their programming. Like with Netflix, who has been the biggest factor into this, with shows like F is for Family, BoJack Horseman, those two, Disenchantment, those shows are all very serialized. They're all interesting. It's all fun to see what comes up next. They might have some episodic episodes between them, but most of it is serialized, and it aligns with what people are looking for nowadays in shows. And dramas have been have a ton of continuity for the longest time, so why can't a sitcom have it as well? I mean, again, I said it's okay to be episodic, but I think they should really shift their stuff. So anyways, if we're going back to the show, I kind of went off topic. It's not the funniest episode. Brenda drinking tequila at 10 a.m. was fun. I did like the reference to Disney Pixar's Up. Louise swimming in the mud was funny. And a joke I really digged was Betty claims there are more dead people than plastic, but it's really the other way around. I think that was one of my favorite jokes in the episode. This episode isn't the best, but it's a good example of showing that this show is taking more risks. It took a while to get going, but both plots can be hooked. There's some good montages and funny jokes. It's a pretty consistent season so far. And finally, we have the Great North and romantic meat-based adventure. And this one sees Beef go on a date. Judy encourages Beef to go on a date, so because she doesn't want him to be single forever. And I actually quite like this one. The plot is tight, it's well paced. The biggest highlight of this episode is definitely the dynamic between Beef and his daughter Judy. We've seen in the pilot how their dynamic truly could be the next Bob and Louise, but I also think it's also different as well, but in a good way. Both of them share the same fear of getting back out there again, and for good reasons, because, Beef is still saddened that his wife left him for another man, and is also worried that he'll be rejected, and Judy's still reluctant to, get out there, because, after she got a boy's hair stuck in her braces when they tried to kiss. Moon's plot about teaching a bird how to fly is light yet amusing. I like how inserted into nature he is. It provides some pretty funny stuff. I also appreciate how the show has been tackling continuity. You know, Judy continues to work at the mall. She acknowledges her dad has been trying to move on. Yeah, they did mention that in the pilot. He promised that he still continue to do it. You know, it's nice to see the show continue to hit out right out of the gate. You know, compared to, especially Duncanville. You know, that show took a really long time before it sort of started finding its footing. It really needs to improve in season 2. But I think it can. You know, again, I always say Mike Scully is such a funny person. Mike Scully, Amy Poehler, they're funny people. I think they're just trying to see what works and what doesn't. And I think season 2 of Duncanville is going to be a lot better. But I would be lying if I said season 1 of Duncanville really has not been at its best. It's a solid show. It just needs to be a lot better. You know, I'm very impressed what we've gotten out of these 4 episodes of The Great North. It only gives me hope for the rest of the season. You know, even though I didn't have too much to say about it, although I really ranted kind of a little bit on streaming services a little bit. I'm sorry about that. You know, but I think Romantic Meat is a great episode. You know, I think this show will continue to be a mainstay. We'll be seeing more of the Tobins for a while, and I think the show's only going to get better. One episode that I'm really looking forward to of The Great North is one where Judy goes to the school dance. I think that one could be a really heartwarming and sweet episode, and also funny at the same time. Although, kind of the subplot, I'm not really looking forward to that too much, but I really hope they focus a lot on the main plot because I think that this upcoming one could be a really, really good episode. Probably the best in this show. Probably the best in the show, so hopefully that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, I know I kind of went on a little tangent on the streaming thing. I'm sorry, but yeah, those were my thoughts on these 5 shows. What did you think in the comments? Of course, let me know. And there's also some videos you can check on the right hand corner. As always, I think there might be something that everyone might enjoy on the channel. And of course, let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.